Picture this: a peaceful day in America's heartland, where the golden fields stretch as far as the eye can see, and the hum of tractors is the soundtrack of daily life. Farmers tend to their crops and livestock, confident that their hard work will feed families across the nation and beyond. But suddenly, that sense of security is shattered by a trade storm brewing on the horizon. The skies darken, and uncertainty rolls in like thunder, threatening to upend everything these communities have built. The United States now finds itself in the middle of a massive food fight with its closest neighbors, Canada and Mexico. And the main course on the table? American beef and pork, the pride of U.S. agriculture, now at the center of a heated international dispute. President Trump is furious. Overnight, our biggest meat customers have slammed the door shut, leaving American producers stunned and scrambling for answers. The border, once a gateway for prosperity, is now a barrier. This isn't just a minor spat between trading partners, it's a full-blown crisis. Billions of dollars in trade are at risk, and thousands of American jobs hang in the balance. From the factory floor to the family farm, the impact is immediate and severe. It all started when the U.S. imposed tough new trade rules, hoping to protect American industries. But instead, these moves angered our neighbors, setting off a chain reaction that no one saw coming. In retaliation, Canada and Mexico slapped huge tariffs on U.S. beef and pork, making our meat much more expensive for their consumers. Suddenly, American products that once filled grocery shelves in Toronto and Mexico City are now out of reach for many families. For American farmers, this is devastating. Their most reliable markets are vanishing overnight, leaving livestock unsold and futures uncertain. Generations of hard work and tradition are now at risk, and the anxiety is palpable in rural communities. The White House views these tariffs as both a personal and economic attack. Behind closed doors, advisors scramble to find a solution, while outside, protests grow louder as livelihoods are threatened. The stakes couldn't be higher. Real people, real farms, and real jobs are all hanging in the balance. Every day, families wonder if their way of life will survive this international standoff. What began as a simple trade tiff has now escalated into a high-stakes international drama. American farmers find themselves caught in the crossfire, their futures uncertain as politicians debate and borders tighten. The U.S. meat industry is in shock, scrambling to adapt and searching for new markets. Business leaders and farmers alike are forced to make tough decisions, hoping to weather the storm. Will there be a breakthrough at the negotiating table, or is this just the beginning of a long, painful trade war? The world watches as leaders refuse to shake hands and tensions rise with every passing day. One thing's certain, the calm is over. The winds of change are sweeping across the heartland, and no one knows what tomorrow will bring. The fallout from this beef and pork battle is just beginning. From Iowa's rolling fields to Toronto's bustling markets, everyone will feel the heat. Families, businesses, and entire communities are bracing for impact, because this is about more than just meat. It's about power, relationships, and the high price of a trade dispute gone wild. The story is far from over, and the next chapter could change the future of North American trade forever. Why did Canada and Mexico retaliate? Simple, they saw U.S. trade policies as unfair and protectionist. In global trade, if you throw a punch, expect one back. By targeting U.S. beef and pork, they hit where it hurts most, America's agricultural exports. These tariffs are a message: we won't be pushed around. It's about economic self-defense, national pride, and demanding fair play. Canada and Mexico have long been close partners, but that partnership relies on mutual respect. When they feel the rules are broken, they act, even if it means short-term pain. The U.S. says it's correcting imbalances, our neighbors see it as aggression. The result? A standoff with tariffs as the most visible symptom of a deeper conflict. Until diplomacy prevails, this wall of tariffs will cast a long shadow over North American trade. Canada didn't just get mad, it got strategic. They slapped a 25% tariff on U.S. pork, making it nearly impossible for American producers to compete. Canadian pork farmers now have a huge home advantage. But Canada's not done. They're threatening to add beef to the list, putting U.S. cattle ranchers on edge. This uncertainty is creating fear and instability for American producers. Canada's goal pressure the U.S. to rethink its trade policies and boost its own farmers. For years, U.S. pork flowed freely north. Now that flow is choked by tariffs. American producers are left with surplus meat and shrinking markets. Canadian farmers, meanwhile, are celebrating their new edge. The game has changed, and the U.S. meat industry faces a harsh new reality. The line in the sand is clear: adapt or lose out. Mexico, America's top pork customer, took a bold step. Not only are they preparing tariffs on U.S. meat, but they've dropped tariffs on pork from everywhere else. Now, pork from Brazil, Spain, and Germany floods in tariff-free. U.S. farmers face a nightmare higher prices for their pork and a flood of global competition. Mexican consumers won't see empty shelves, just new brands. For American producers, losing Mexico means losing their biggest market. The market share built over decades could vanish in months. Mexico's move proves no supplier is irreplaceable. Even if the dispute ends, new global relationships are in place. American farmers now face the real possibility that their top customer has moved on. The balance of power in pork has shifted, fast. For American farmers, this isn't just news, it's a crisis. Canada and Mexico are their main markets. Now those doors are closing. A surplus of meat means prices at home will plummet. The entire supply chain, farmhands, processors, truckers, feels the pain. Generations of farmers now fear for their future. Decades of building trust and market share in Mexico are unraveling. Even if tariffs lift, regaining lost ground will be tough. Farmers are pleading for a diplomatic solution, but new markets are hard to find. The heartland is hurting, caught in a political crossfire they never asked for. This trade war is part of a global chess game, where every nation is making strategic moves to protect its interests and outmaneuver its rivals. The stakes are high, and the board is constantly shifting as countries respond to new challenges and opportunities. Brazil, long recognized as a meat powerhouse, sees a golden opportunity as the U.S. stumbles in the global market. With vast pastures and a booming livestock industry, Brazil is poised to step up and supply the world's growing demand for meat. As Mexico opens its doors to global pork imports, Brazilian producers are ready to fill the gap left by American suppliers. Shipments of Brazilian pork are already making their way to Mexican supermarkets, and the momentum is only building. Meanwhile, the U.S. has slapped tariffs on Brazilian beef, making it harder for Brazilian ranchers to access the American market. These new barriers complicate trade relationships and force countries to look for new partners. As the U.S. blocks Brazilian beef, Brazil is quick to pivot, swooping in on pork markets around the globe. Their adaptability is giving them an edge in this fast-changing environment. It's a tangled web, every move triggers a countermove, and the global meat trade is more interconnected than ever before. Each decision ripples across continents, affecting farmers, consumers, and economies worldwide. On the other side of the world, China is working hard to stabilize and expand its own pork production. Modern farms and new technologies are helping China become less dependent on imports, strengthening its position in the market. If China succeeds in becoming more self-sufficient, U.S. exporters stand to lose another major market. This could mean fewer sales, lower prices, and more uncertainty for American farmers already feeling the pressure. Today, American farmers aren't just competing with their neighbors, they're up against producers from every corner of the globe. The competition is fierce, and the playing field is constantly evolving. While the U.S. is tangled in trade disputes and policy debates, Brazil and China are expanding their reach, building new facilities, and fortifying their positions in the global market. The global meat market is shifting fast, with new alliances forming and old ones breaking apart. Every day brings new developments that can change the balance of power. To stay in the game, the U.S. must navigate these complex dynamics with skill, innovation, and a willingness to adapt. The future of American agriculture depends on it. Right now, though, it's clear, the U.S. is losing ground and the world is watching to see what its next move will be. While Washington fights a trade war on the global stage, states and businesses across America are adapting fast, finding creative ways to weather the storm and keep food on our tables. The uncertainty in international markets has forced local leaders and companies to rethink their strategies, acting quickly to protect their industries and communities. In Texas, for example, state officials are ramping up biosecurity measures to protect valuable herds from threats like screwworms and other livestock diseases, focusing on what they can control at home. They're working closely with ranchers and veterinarians, holding workshops and deploying new technology to monitor animal health, aiming to prevent outbreaks before they start. Meanwhile, big companies like Walmart are investing heavily in their own supply chains. opening massive beef processing plants and taking greater ownership of the entire process. By building out their infrastructure, they're seeking more control and stability, reducing their reliance on outside suppliers and foreign markets. By owning more of the process, from farm to shelf, they're less vulnerable to trade chaos and sudden disruptions. This vertical integration helps them respond faster to market changes and keep prices steadier for consumers. Across the food sector, companies are also responding to shifting consumer demands. The dairy industry, for instance, is pledging to remove artificial dyes from ice cream, listening to customers who want cleaner labels and healthier options. Food producers are reformulating products and investing in research to meet these new expectations. These moves build resilience at home, making American industries less dependent on exports and better able to withstand global shocks. By focusing on domestic strength, they're creating a buffer against unpredictable international markets. It's adaptation in action. States are prioritizing biosecurity, companies are embracing vertical integration, and entire industries are pushing for innovation. From new technology in the lab to smarter practices in the field, everyone is working to future-proof American agriculture and food production. These strategies may not solve the immediate crisis overnight, but they're crucial for long-term survival. By planning ahead and working together, states and businesses are laying the groundwork for a more secure future. The ultimate goal is clear: a stronger, more self-reliant foundation that can withstand whatever global trade throws next. Building up local capacity and investing in American resources is key to weathering future storms. In a world that's suddenly unstable, adaptation isn't just a choice, it's the new normal. Flexibility and resilience are now essential for survival. American ingenuity is on display, even in tough times. From inventors to everyday workers, people are coming together to solve problems and keep the nation moving forward. The fight for stability starts at home, with families, farmers, and businesses all playing their part to secure America's future one step at a time. Amid the chaos, there's hope for resolution. No one wants this trade war to last. Tariffs are costly for all sides. The pain is meant to force leaders back to the negotiating table. Diplomats are working behind the scenes, but compromise is key. The U.S. must listen to its neighbors, and all sides need to find common ground. Farmers' voices add urgency. Washington knows the harm is real. This crisis is a wake-up call. Relying on a few export markets is risky. The industry will push to diversify, seeking new customers worldwide. Dialogue, not confrontation, is the only sustainable path forward. The future of North American trade depends on finding that solution, fast. What does all this mean for you? It's not just a farmer's problem. With surplus meat stuck in the U.S., you might see lower prices, briefly. But that's a sign of industry distress, not health. When farmers lose money, the whole food supply becomes less secure. Prices could swing wildly. Cheap pork today, expensive tomorrow. Trade wars can also make imports like avocados or electronics pricier. For farmers, it's survival. For consumers, it's about food costs and choices. A stable farm economy means affordable food for all. This crisis proves how connected we are. Decisions in D.C. ripple to your dinner plate. The hope: a quick, sensible resolution to restore stability for everyone.